Hey, hello everybody. This is Mike Feldbauer from the Flagler County Drug Court Foundation, coming to you from the Flagler Voice podcast studios here in Palm Coast. And again, I've got a guest in the audience, not in the audience, in the studio this morning, who's been with us before, and we are happy to have him back, and we'll probably be happy to have him back several times in the future. He is somebody that has spent years in the world of recovery. I think he has a lot to offer those that are out there that are walking their walk in recovery, and certainly also to help the people that are listening that may be family members, to what they're going through, to see what kind of help and not helping that you need to do, because there's a combination of that. Yeah. The right kind of help sometimes is not help, and we have to understand that part of it. And then, that's one very important topic that we have here. Getting our families to understand really that when looking at family members that are in recovery, that's not who they are. We got to look beyond that. We got to look to the point what caused them to get into what they're doing. Okay, knowing how severe, depending on the severity of their addiction, the lack of control they have at that point until they make a commitment. And all that leads to the same other topic that's important to us, and that is reducing the stigma that the world has about people that are involved in addiction. Because we believe, and I think you're in agreement with it, that if we can reduce that stigma, that attitude that the world and the public have, that's one of the greatest helps that we can offer people that are in addiction to help them get out of it. By that I mean, we don't just keep saying, you're nothing but a bum. You'll end up going nowhere. There's no hope for you. After you hear it enough, that's what happens. We want to change that. And there's a way of being part of the solution that doesn't cost you a penny. How many people go out there and say, you can be part of the solution, and you don't have to reach into your pocket to do it? So, Robert, welcome. I'm glad to have you back with us. Say hi to everybody. Let's see what's going on. Talk to us, Mike, a little bit.
How are you? It's good to be back. It's always good to be invited back.
I hear you.
I wasn't always invited back to things back in the day. And I appreciate so many things, Mike, you touched on that are so relevant to a person getting well. One of the things that you mentioned was the family dynamic.
Yes.
How alcoholism that I suffer from affects so many other people. Matter of fact, Father Joseph Martin, says on his Chalk Talk, out of every addicted person, they affect at least 6 other people.
Oh, for sure.
And that normally comes from the significant other, children, and so on and so forth. I actually do a podcast with a friend of mine out of California, Susie W., who lives in Jacksonville. She's an Al-Anon member, and we do a podcast monthly called Both Sides, because it's so incredible. Both people need to be going in the same direction at the same time. Whether you're codependent or the person causing the upheaval, you have to be getting well, because it's amazing, Mike, what happens. Incredibly, if I'm getting well as a person of addiction, as an alcoholic as I am, if I'm getting well, then there's no room for the codependent, and they'll actually subconsciously want to sabotage my wellness, or if my significant other is getting well and I'm not, I want to sabotage them because I need them to be as sick as me to justify my condition.
Yeah, a term that a lot of people will use in what you were just discussing is not just codependency, it's enabling.
Yes.
Okay? And there's 2 ways to enable somebody. Okay? And the way that most family members, when they first get involved in here, the way they want to enable is by helping them, but by not holding their feet to the fire.
Yeah.
And that's not a good enabling.
No, it's not. And matter of fact, if the best thing and this question is often asked of me. I'm speaking at an Al-Anon conference in September in Utah, and the question is, how can I help an alcoholic? And the bottom line is, you can't. Until that person sees their own condition, until I saw myself as helpless, hopeless, as soon as I had to see myself as someone who was sick, who did bad things, instead of a bad person who did bad things. And the transformation is enlightening, because we would never treat a cancer patient or someone suffering from a debilitating disease, but because a cancer patient doesn't normally think it's their fault.
Right.
But an alcoholic, we suffer all the blame. We know the truth about who we are and what we have become and the damage that we've done. Even though we don't admit it, we know what the truth is.
You're right on target. You're right on target. We've been talking to somebody about the word codependency.
Yes.
And that person has, I think, and maybe you can respond to it, a misconception of what some of the help groups are that really deal with it, not just people who don't know. Talk maybe AA, NA, Celebrate, Recover, and classify them all as codependent, wanting to keep the people in it.
Yeah.
Instead of just forming a community and a support group. There's a difference between support and codependency, too.
Yes, yes.
So we'd talk to that if you would.
Codependency is the need to keep another person in their position. I had a person early on, it was so relevant, and I didn't like what they had to say in the beginning back in 1988 or whatever it was, but I've been trying to process it all these years. It was at the end of another failed relationship, because I was still involved with people, places, and things. That was going to be it. No matter how sober I got, I needed someone or something or some place to validate my existence. Yeah. And so another failed relationship, as you can imagine. And I went to this person. I wanted to have a bitching session about why they were wrong, about how they let me down. And he said, "Robert, you don't have relationships. You take hostages." And that was the last time I went to the person for advice. But the point was, even though I had quit drinking and quit using and quit carrying on the way I was still relying on somebody else to make the outside of me, to make the inside of me comfortable with me. And I learned early on that I was going to be dependent on something other than a higher power that was going to bring my true freedom. So as soon as we surrender to those things, as paradoxical as it sounds, surrender to win. I had to surrender to every outside influence to gain the internal peace that I was looking for.
So just so I get a proper perspective on what you're saying here, that you're not saying that people in addiction shouldn't find support groups in their general area, because some people will hold your feet to the fire and you need that. And
yes.
If the support group is doing what it's supposed to do, that's part of what they're doing. Yeah,
and I'm sorry I didn't cover that more fully. Before you and I got together today, I was at a 10 o'clock meeting.
Okay.
I've been sober 39 years, 3 months, and 26 days, whatever it is. I've been sober a long time. And yet I still find that camaraderie.
Got it.
That unity in the group that I'm involved with. It says that our common welfare should come first. The tradition one, our common welfare should come first. Unity is the key to my personal recovery. And so I find united, whether you're an AA, NA, OA, GA, SA, EA, it doesn't matter what it is. As long as that is your network, as long as that is your foundational understanding of fellowship.
That's the key word.
Fellowship, because, Mike, there was a time where I wasn't happy anywhere with anyone doing anything. No matter how you loved me or how you told me I was okay, I never felt good about who I was. And until I came into the rooms of recovery, where I found true fellowship, it's not that these other people didn't do for me, because they were sincere. They were legitimate people who really loved me. I just wasn't able to receive it until I walked into the rooms of recovery, and I thought, man, you know a lot about me, and you've never met me before, and you've told me to come back when others would tell me to leave.
Yeah, and I'm sure that occasionally you will find in any of those fellowships, in any of those groups, you'll find somebody whose greater personal need
Yeah, yeah.
is to bring you into that codependency for them.
Yes.
And you don't know where it starts. And I'm just believing that eventually most people will come to the awakening. Wait a minute, I've got to start doing it the way you were talking about. Yeah. And that's the key thing, because I find just in my personal everyday life, I have people that I'm with and surround myself with because of the fellowship, because I know they will hold my feet to the fire.
Yes.
Because they're not afraid if they see me drifting one way too far or the other, to say, hey, Mike, what's going on?
Yeah.
And that's what I think we're talking about. That's what it's all about. It's not that I want to have you never get to where you need to be so I can be in a better, important part of your life. That's not what it is.
Yeah, I need you, because I'm 71 years old, Mike. I know
You're
that
just a kid.
I'm just a child. And thank you for that. I know I have less time to live than I did when I was 30. And I'm very fortunate. So what I try to do is bring up the next generation of individuals who can carry the message. We were talking about Stephen Covey earlier before this broadcast began, and Stephen would talk about bringing up the next generation to live, to love, to learn, and to leave a legacy. And I'm in that legacy building arena now, where I want to bring as much people. I want them to know everything I know. I want them to know more, because it's going to be them. It's going to be the Crystals of the world, the Sheilas, the Joshuas, all the younger generation who are going to be sober generations or decades long after I'm gone. And I want to instill in them the importance of others learning under them, because that's how we keep the message alive.
I agree again with you, and I'm going to add one more thing, is that none of us have learned everything we need to learn.
Yeah.
We're constantly in a learning. But I always look at it with one hand's reaching up to the person that knows more than I do. Yeah. The other hand is reaching back to somebody like you were talking about, that we need to give to them what we've already got.
Yes.
And it's a continuous thing. If one of the two hands go down, it's not right.
Yeah. In 1952, Winston Churchill, who was the leader of Great Britain, Chancellor of Great Britain, and he was said to be responsible for bringing Great Britain out of World War II. Winston Churchill said, everyone wants to learn, but no one wants to be taught. Incredible line. And that resonated with me when I heard it 20 years ago, whatever. I always want to be teachable, because I don't want to be done, Mike. I don't want to be finished. I don't want to wake up today or tomorrow or the next day and say, oh, my work here is done. When my dear friend, my AA sponsor, passed away in 2019, I said to him, Jack, what do I tell him? Because he was passing the mantle, as it were, over to me, and he knew I was going to carry the message. And I said, Jack, what do I tell him? And he said, Bob, tell him it works. And so that has been my mission, Mike, certainly before then, but even more so, I want these individuals, because alcoholism is a treatable condition.
Yes, it is.
And it's such a tragedy to hear someone die from something that is otherwise treatable. And for someone like me, the only thing that how it can be treated is to stop drinking and then carry on with the plan of recovery, the plan of living that demands rigorous honesty, that demands that I believe in a power greater than myself that can restore me to a semblance of sanity.
Well, you've wrapped that up real nice and tight, pretty bow, and I agree. Those are the things that we have to agree to. And I don't care what your addiction is.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling. Today, one of our biggest addictions are these telephones.
Yes.
It's all the same. It's all the same. And we have to understand, if our community would take a look, here's a challenge to everybody. Take your phone, okay, and turn it off. See how long you can leave it off before you got to turn it back on. All right? There's a challenge. That'll show you how much you're depending on doing something.
Yeah.
And most of the time, when we're doing something on our phones, it's worthless. Okay? I'm not talking about I use it for business and for those kinds of things. That's worth it. But a lot of stuff I do, doesn't benefit anyone. And I want to develop more things that are benefiting people by doing it, and myself, instead of wasting a lot of time. Difficult for me. I find myself, I was challenged to do that. I belong to a group, a networking group, and the leader of the networking group came in one morning with all these little bags. I said, what are those bags for? She said, I want you all to go on your phone, whatever. Look how much screen time you're putting in. Okay? It'll shock most of you. He said, then I want you to find some time just to turn it off and put it in the bag.
Yeah.
But that's not the only thing. You need to learn, what am I going to do with that time that I've now gained? And find positive things to do with that time. And that's what you're talking about. Exactly. We don't, one addiction usually, in real recovery, there's other addictions that fall in to help you. And hopefully they're the good ones.
Yes.
Because we have to replace that time.
Yeah.
Okay? What does the Bible say when it said, you've got it and you got rid of the evil one and then you were empty. And if you didn't fill it with godly stuff, the enemy is going to come back 6 times fold.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we do need to find replacements, good replacements to help us. Or, like I've said before, and I think I mentioned it when we were together last time, I was a 2-pack-a-day cigarette guy. And after relapsing 6 times, I finally found something to hang on to that gave me a good reason, that I really worked at it hard to make sure that I got it. And thank God that was 43 years ago now. I also know that I can't pick up 1 cigarette today.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself a nicotine addict anymore. I just consider myself smart enough to know, because of where I was, that I can't do that any longer, because it would just get worse than it was before I quit. And those are the things that we all, no matter what our addictions are, have to start learning.
I agree. In listening to you talk and share that philosophy, I call that the replacement theory of recovery.
Yes.
And just from a biblical standpoint, I'm a Christian, although I have a Christ-centered belief, and I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ. However, just believe in something. I don't have an argument with the person, regardless of what walk of faith they come from. As long as you believe something, God will sort out the rest of it later on as you go.
It is his job.
It is. I'm not the sorter. God is. I'm just a follower. But if you don't believe, and go back to what you said as far as the replacement, in the biblical story of when Jesus met Peter, he said, drop your net and follow me. So Peter was following the net because he was a fisherman.
Right.
And he said, I will now make you. He didn't say, I'm not going to make you a fisherman. I'm going to make you fishers of men. So he was shifting where Peter fished. And that's very significant. So even Christ, if you believe in Christ, even Christ understood that replacement theory. It's not that I want you to stop believing. This is what I want you to believe in. And
right.
I think a lot of times, instead of believing in people, places, and things that can fix me, I need to believe in a power greater than myself. The Bible says that faith is the evidence of substance of things unseen, the evidence of things. I screwed that verse up, but you know what I'm talking about. Faith is the evidence of things unseen, and we have to believe in something that we can't see. And when we first get to recovery, we're very tangible people. If we can't feel it, taste it, touch it, smell it, we don't believe in it. And now you ask me to believe in something I can't see, that's very difficult for me.
Well, it obviously is. But if we go back to what we were challenged with from Jesus, he knew that that only that small group was going to know who he really was. Walk with him, talk with him, saw what he did, this stuff. But he knew it would have to be how people saw those people
Yes.
that we're going to give them. So when we look at success stories like yours, that's what people have to see, to hear, to get that hope that will continue to work on them, understanding if they have the faith in that hope, it will happen.
Yeah.
So there's no other way of, that I see in looking at it. And I think it's one of the reasons that now in the world of recovery, certified peer recovery specialists have become so important, because people realize that those that they're helping are talking to people who have been where they've been and can help guide them.
Yeah.
You know, we're not saying, okay, you're going to have to, I'm not talking about you got to do this step and you got to do that step. If you don't do all 12, you ain't going to make it. I'm not saying that. Some people have to do all 12. Some people just have to focus on 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you go beyond. And then it's the fellowship that surrounds you within those groups that will help guide you through the rest. Sometimes you don't even realize you've actually completed all 12 because you didn't put it in the book. But because of your life is changing, you're doing those things. You're getting to the point where you're going to reach back and say, hey, family, I'm sorry. I know what I've done. I didn't want to do it. It's not who I am. I know who I am now. Let's get there. I once heard a preacher preach to his large, it was a large church, and he preached to his large congregation because he must have known that a fair amount of percentage of that congregation was dealing with these problems. And he was talking to the families and the parents. He said, when your child is involved with this addiction, and you find that they've been stealing things from you, they've been doing things that have been getting in trouble and maybe embarrassing the family, remember, that's not who they are. Okay? It's not where they want to be. And I'll say it over and again. There's a couple things I put out in every podcast. In the 12 years that I've been working in this area, I've never met one person who desired to be addicted to, whether it was drugs or alcohol or anything else. That was not the intent. The intent was typically, in most cases, covering up some pain in their life, some trauma that had gone through, some event that they've gone through in their life that they just haven't been able to deal with. And somebody said, a friend of theirs said, hey, try this. It'll make you feel better. Some of us are able to try some things, okay, and it doesn't affect us that much. Others, it affects the first time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a little longer. I try to teach our people that are in the program, particularly if they have children or if they're going to have kids in the future, at some point in time, you got to be honest with them. Because even DNA-wise, addiction can go forward 7 generations. It doesn't hit every person in that 7 generation, but then you teach them that they're in control of the switch and to be cautious because we don't know how it's going to affect you.
Yeah.
And I don't want you having to go through. I mean, as parents, we want to teach our kids how to be better than we were.
Yeah. Yeah.
In every aspect that we can. So those are the things that we need to lead friends and family to. Because if the greater the understanding of the cause and the effects, the greater compassion there can be to help people in the right way to get through this.
Yeah.
So that's
and I agree to the extent that the 12 steps of recovery, although I recommend it, is what worked for me.
right.
If something else works for someone else, my only concern is don't die from a treatable condition. Don't get divorced if you don't have to get divorced. Don't walk out on your kids if you don't have to. If you can find another way of solving those challenges in life, then my hat's off to you. I mean, just because I stick to a 12-step program and I believe that every step needs to be done doesn't mean every step needs to be done by every person.
Exactly.
You know, you can get well. I will tell you, though, every monotheistic religion in the world, every faith-based belief system involves the 12 steps in one form or the other.
Yes, it does.
Because it comes with denying self believing in something else and helping other people. And that is, in essence, the 12 steps of recovery. Everything I do is about you, and I get the benefit of it, but I need to be third in order to be first. It is paradoxical, but it's very, very true.
You know, and we were talking about some of this, you know, the 12 steps all come from the Bible.
Yes.
Okay. And I think more people need to know that. We were talking about earlier before we went on the air about Stephen Covey.
Yeah.
And his famous book that brought him out to the world. Every one of those 7 steps came from the Bible.
Yeah.
He never acknowledged it. And for me personally, that was always an offense. But he still got the word out. Okay. And the things that they brought out were true because they came from the Bible.
Yeah.
And the original AA 12 steps, there was no question where it came from. It was all biblical. I say to people, whether you believe in God or not, the best manual in the world is the Bible. If you take it just on its practical senses,
Yeah.
you can't go wrong. I tell that to business people. Other than the fact it can't teach me math, and I wish it would because I was terrible at it, it's going to teach you all the principles that are going to make you successful in business. So as we're talking about the world of recovery, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's going to teach you the things you need to be successful in.
Yeah. And, you know, you take me back a number of years when I was, I had gone back to school and got my degree in alcohol and drug studies back in the 90s. And so one of my first jobs in recovery was as a DUI counselor in California. And individuals that I would conduct classes with as a counselor would say to me, "Oh, you just need to be me. You need me to be an alcoholic. You need to be me to be a drug addict. I don't need you to be anything. All I know is that your third DUI has cost you your freedom, have cost you your job, has cost you thousands of dollars. If you can find a way to not lose your freedom, not lose your ability to drive, and have that thousands of dollars back in your pocket, that's what I'm here to teach you. I don't need you to be like me.
Exactly.
I just need you to stop being like you. And if I can do anything to help you along that way, then I've done my job. I don't need you to be anything. I don't need you to be like me. I need you to be free."
You've hit home with me. Okay, I've talked about the cigarette part, but I've had people in the last 12 years who don't really know me come up to me and say, "How can you do what you're doing? You weren't an alcoholic. You weren't a drug addict." Okay, and I said, you know, first of all, I believe it's become a calling on my life, so God's providing what I need to do to help people. And I said, we all have something that we can reach back on that will help us help somebody. We've all come through things.
Yes.
Okay, and like you said, it doesn't have to be like me, but we all come through things that if you have a calling and a desire to be helpful, you'll be able to do that. If that's not what your God has given you or guiding you to do, if he's got some other plans for you, then that's fine. But don't tell me that I can't care and help the people that are in recovery. I'll have another word for you.
You know, even though I believe a person sharing a life situation can be very helpful,
Yes.
I think that if we throw out anyone who does not have my condition, we have to get rid of psychiatry and psychology altogether, because some of the greatest practitioners weren't alcoholic. But one of the things I learned, Mike, is they had the capacity for empathy
Yep.
through their own life experience.
Compassion.
And that understanding of that empathy, how to hurt with me, gives you the power to help me. In sales, we call it feel, felt, found. And I know how you feel. I've known people who felt the same way. But let me tell you what I have found. as a because I believe, man, some of us are baddies. Some of us are freaking, we are nuts. I mean, the drinking and using was only the tip of the iceberg for guys like me and gals who were crazy when they got sober, and they're still crazy when they get. And sometimes we need a psychologist. Sometimes we need a psychiatric care to fully understand what the root of our cause was, to get down to the nitty gritty, to get well, to remove all the obstacles that we would need. So I love clinicians. I love the work that men and women do in the field of psychology and psychiatry, because some of us need that help.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're talking about roots, and that's where it is.
Yeah.
I have, I say it time and time again, it's one of the things that I jump on. I said too much of some of the recovery world is bandage.
Yeah.
If I can get people sober, clean for a period of time so their mind is starting to work, then I have to work. Not me, because I'm not a clinician. That's not what I'm called. But if we can get them there,
Yeah.
then they can start working on those root causes. And they can work on the tools that will affect them in a positive way instead of the stuff that hits them negatively.
Yeah.
But if we just bandage it,
Yeah.
I mean, I can be happy that somebody's sober and clean, okay? But I can really be happy if they dealt with those causes to feel comfortable that they're going to go to a meeting and say, I'm in long-term recovery. Or not even talk about that in that respect anymore, not considering themselves. If you can consider yourself recovered, but with the understanding that you still can't do certain things, otherwise you'll be back in recovery because you're going to go back there. Those are the things I think that count for at least the way I look at it.
You know, from a medical standpoint, what you say is so relevant, because I had a severe form of skin cancer, melanoma, and my dermatologist, Dr. Williams in Salt Lake City, Utah, found it, and he said, you know what, we need to test this. We need to take a biopsy of what I think I see here. And the biopsy came back later that afternoon. Mike, it was severe melanoma. And he said to me, he didn't put a Band-Aid on it. He said, here's some ointment, here's a Band-Aid. Just cover it up and it'll be gone. He said to me, he said, we need to dig, and we need to dig deep. We need to get to the root of this cancer. And I think if we do that, Robert, I think you can be cancer-free. And that was like 6 years ago. And I've been cancer-free. I've got 6-month checkups. I'm now at an annual checkup. But you know what? He diagnosed it. He said, this is where I think the problem is. Let's go down. Let's get this thing. Let's dig a little deeper than we thought we had to. But I want to make sure we get it all while we're down there digging. And that's what psychiatrists and psychologists do to understand where this comes from. Because if I just fill the vat with water that has arsenic in it, I'm still drinking arsenic-laced water. But if I can get down and clean that barrel out and get all that arsenic out and then fill it with water, I have a better chance of drinking the water and staying healthy. It's the same thing.
You're right. You're on target. And again, that's something we have to get more and more involved in the world of recovery. Treatment providers have to get more in depth.
Yeah.
Have the right staff and clinicians on board and the right training for their people to get down and do that. Your doctor said, I'm not going to treat it until I know what it really is.
Yeah.
Okay? Where overall medical profession and all kinds of stuff say, well, it looks like it's this. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And then what if they made a mistake and it wasn't that?
Yeah.
And the treatment they were giving you was just making what you had worse, and it was going to be harder to treat it because, it wasn't that, and it was really this. No, we need to work on that. We need to work on it.
When I go to the dentist, I just don't say, hey, doc, one of my teeth is hurting. And he says, well, it may be that one, but let's pull this one. No, what they do is they take a mouthful of x-rays. And I love science because, Mike, science just establishes and gives evidence to what I'm about to say. My dental expert, my hygienist, will take a a mouthful of x-rays and said, you know what? The pain is here. And I think if we fill this, if we drill this, if we pull it, if we do something with it, we know how to treat it. It's just not identifying, it's treating what they identify. And say you're schizophrenic, you're bipolar, you're manic, you're alcoholic, you're this, you're that, you're the other. Now go and be well. No, they treat it the best they can based on their medical understanding, and they get to the root of the challenge. They get down to the base of what the real problem is, and they say, you know what, give it a few days to heal, and you should be fine moving forward.
Well, I'm sorry to say, Robert, we're coming to the end of this particular thing.
How did that happen, Mike?
Yeah, because the topics we talk about are interesting, and they need to be heard by more and more people.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that we'll be able to continue this. Maybe we get together once a month, whatever you feel is going to be comfortable for you. I think this is really good. We all both know there's enough things to talk about. We could go on for hours.
Yes.
We just can't go on for hours at one time because some people will be falling asleep before we're out.
I know I would.
So at this point, do you have anything just quickly to close that you'd like to say before we close down for this? Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for having me back, and I would love to be back in studio, whatever your schedule is. You just let me know, and I'm available because I want, Mike, more than anyone to be more well than me. Mike, I've got a 36-year marriage. I've got 5 children, and I've got 10 grandchildren, and I'm retired, and I live this incredible life. But I'm not any more special than the person who's suffering today.
That's right.
So if the message that you and I bring forth can help the community heal when they don't need to be sick, that's exactly what our mission is. And you come at it from one side, I come at it from the other, but Mike, we meet in the middle because at the end of the day, we want people well.
Our goal is the same.
Yes, sir.
So with that, everybody, we're going to see you again shortly. Again, this is Mike Feldbauer with Flagler County Drug Court Foundation, coming to you from Flagler Voice, our podcast studio here in Palm Coast. If you've got information, if you've got questions that you'd like Robert and I to talk about, send them in to us. You can reach me at 401-864-6997 or M. Feldbauer, that's F as in Frank, ELDBAUER, so M. Feldbauer at gmail.com. If you got questions, you got it. Or if there's something that maybe you'd like to come on and join us, we'd love to have you do that too. So everybody, have a great day. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again soon.